We just need to make sure that when so do we just like if they're talking, we can make sure it's going so you have to. If you need if we move it, I just feel like that. What's good stuff?
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna something like that.
I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
All right, I don't know. Okay, it's definitely on. Well, if Coach Ruben wants to go, I don't know. Okay, yeah, so a lot of moving and changing. Didn't expect for it to rain like this, and we had to move different locations, but we're here, and I'm glad we're here. Cassandra, we good?
yes.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Seven Charleston. I'm the one who started the Youth Justice Forum with my organization, Semillas, last year. Sorry. So background, I've been a teacher for 4 years. My life in schools that I guess you would call alternative schools, and I've experienced and witnessed a lot of trauma as it goes to like the prison, school to prison pipeline, and just the disempowerment of youth, and just what it did to me personally. It affected me a lot, and just watching my peers lose so much of their agency, just by doing what they're told. Well, being put where they believe they're supposed to be. I mean, where they're told that they're supposed to be, and living in Pine Hills and all the anti-Black narratives about who we are, what we're doing, and what we're supposed to be. I'm kind of privy to the knowledge of. I'm privy to some of the concerns about youth crime, and I think my perspective and my experience together has made me hyper aware of this problem of youth incarceration, and through, I guess, Johnny Alderman. He's not here currently, but he's the chief of probation for the Department of Juvenile Justice, and he's also a resident of Pine Hills, and he let me know that Pine Hills actually has the highest rate of youth incarceration by zip code in Florida, and all that context together, and all that context plus the knowledge from the state attorney's office that there isn't actually any diversion programs for youth in Pine Hills and Orange County. It made me realize that we definitely needed something like this, like the Youth Justice Forum, to be one, a diversion program, and two, some type of community that those youth can actually, have access to, and use for social currency to get further in life than they probably would on their own, especially since there's a lot of stigma against them just because of where they're from, outside of their age, race, and all those other combining factors. So I know for a fact, because I work with a lot of different grassroots organizers, that Pine Hills isn't the only area in West Orlando suffering from that type of maladaptive social ill. And I've been talking to a lot of different residents that I know of who have different perspectives on the issue, and it's a generational thing. We've been dealing with it for probably the last 20, 30 years, where we have high rates of youth incarceration, and the only solution seems to be to push people away, lock people up, and from what we know, that doesn't really work. All it does is further marginalize us and push us further into a corner. So I think the people that we're working with today, most of the people here, and most of the people on what we formed as the Youth Accountability Board, are people who work within our communities just about every single day. And we've had the experience of being raised in these communities that have been highly stigmatized, and our peers, even some of us up here, have gone through the juvenile justice system, gone through the adult justice system, and we built this board just to be able to have a platform for youth justice in West Orlando and Central Orlando that doesn't currently exist. There's not really many advocates from our neighborhoods that are trying to become that in between for the Department of Juvenile Justice and the State Attorney's Office. which is why, I reached out to them and let them know about, this coalition that we put together. So all of us, are working in different areas, me, Pine Hills. There's a few others from Rosemont, Mercy Drive. There's actually 7 neighborhoods that we kind of represent, which is Pine Hills, Mercy Drive, Oak Ridge, Paramore, Rosemont, Texas Ave, and Richmond Heights. And for better or for worse, we have a very, together we have a very large network of people and resources that would be very privy to, the youth who need it for the most part. And we've been working in silos in our neighborhoods and, doing what we can every day. But I think together we kind of make a bigger impact or a bigger force for equity in this arena. So, I reached out to the Department of Juvenile Justice and the State Attorney's Office, and I'm working with them to try to broker some type of relationship so that we can meet with them monthly or weekly and see, what type of intervention that we can give to them as far as handing out community service hours, getting them in touch with mentors, and general all around wrap up mentoring, and how this presence within our community can how this presence and this relationship with the county can help us further our mission. So so the Youth Accountability Board is a board of about 14 different mentors, and for the most part, we haven't squared out all the different details on programming and how we're going to connect with each other on a day-to-day basis. But we've put this together, and I think the important for me, the important part of it is that we put this coalition together, and together we can really make an impact. So that's kind of the backstory on that. And to talk about, so this is like the second event that we've had. Since the first event, we started some programs out, some social programs to be kind of like diversion programs. And we pre-trialed it in Pine Hills. I had the Youth Business Incubation Program. We helped about 21 youth start their own small business. Start in a very technical way because they're not out there like flourishing on their own yet. But we helped them. We gave them the skills and the resources to be able to start their own business, and taught them about having businesses that kind of meet the needs of the community, and instead of just businesses out there to exploit more people. So yeah, that was a great program, and just going through that program for an entire year. It was like an 8-month program. I realized how much resources we're going to need if I wanted to bring that type of program to all the other neighborhoods that we're representing and working with. So this year we're probably going to have that same program in a different format and an online-based version. Same as the 2 other programs that we're supposed to start last year, the Healing Space and the Community School. Most of those projects were very ambitious, and we jumped at it because we want to do ambitious projects. But the nuance and the experience definitely helps me realize that we have to figure out a more feasible way to do it, and have them in all the different areas that we're working in. So I constructed another version of those programs, and I had it on a Google Classroom pod. I don't know if you guys know what Google Classroom is. Okay, I'm probably one of the only teachers in here, but it's something that we've been using for a while. And I think that piece of technology is going to make it a lot easier for us to create a community for these kids that that aren't actually from the same neighborhood. So, they can go onto the Google Classroom and they can get access to, these various resources, job opportunities, and programs that I'm gonna have in there. So instead of doing the community liberation school, is what we called it last year, we barely was able to do like 2 weeks of that because there was so many different resources that we needed. We had the teachers on hand that wanted to help, but it just was not feasible. But I'm glad we tried and figured out that that type of structure wasn't going to work. So we're gonna have like a online schooling platform, and I didn't really talk about it with my other partners yet. I kind of just talked about it with some of the teachers that I work with and some of the kids that I work with. So it's kind of just a project now, and hopefully in a few weeks, it's going to be on the Google Classroom and the website. So I don't know if everybody got like a one of those cards that they have on the table, but we have the website on there, and I wanted to make sure to have updated info on that website monthly. So just for people who want to do this type of work and who are showing up and continue to show up, they know exactly how they can help. And yeah, I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, but yes, so we're gonna use the Google Classroom platform to help bridge out all the different social programs and all the different resources and all the different access to all the different mentors that some of the kids probably wouldn't have because one mentor lives in Pine Hills, the other mentor lives in Texas Ave, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I hope I explained some things. I probably didn't explain it as well or cogently as I wanted to, but that's about it. And I guess I'm gonna shout out the entire accountability board because not all of them had were able to come today. Some of them had turkey drives, etc. So yeah, for Pine Hills, myself, Seven Charleston, and the moderator here, Jay Fortune. We both work in Pine Hills just about daily. He has his own organization called On the Rise. On the Rise Pine Hills. I'm gonna let him talk because we're gonna do introductions in a second. But in Oak Ridge, we have Coach Ruben Saldana down there, always working. Everybody in this room probably already knows about him and his work. We also have Dontrell Richardson. He's a teacher at Ridge High School. He does life mentoring. It's a beautiful mentorship program that's been working in Oak Ridge for like 10 years, I think. And yeah, he does beautiful work. Hopefully he comes here a little bit later. In Mercy Drive, we have Marcus Dorsey and I Hope Mentoring. I feel like most of you guys know about I Hope Mentoring, but he does great work himself. He is at his own turkey drive right now. But yeah, I'm glad to have him a part. We also have Keith Chapman with New West Orlando Foundation. New West Orlando speaks for itself, bridging the gap of all the different neighborhoods in West Orlando and making it a more feasible and equitable place. So him and his family does great work. And also we have in Texas Ave, my man Marcus McKenzie and John Powell. John Powell is not here today. Marcus McKenzie does great work with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. John Powell has an organization called Orlando Boxing League. It's basically a hands up, guns down type thing, but I guess you guys get the gist of that. In Richmond Heights, we have Pastor Daniel Ings. He's currently not here, but he's been working in Richmond Heights for over 20 years. His dad was a commissioner there, Mr. Samuel Ings. Some of you guys know him, but they do great work out there. And just as well, we have Antoine Henry here, who's going to be heading over Richmond Heights. He does great work with Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And in Rosemount, we're gonna have Eli Sahab. He does great work with the For the Kids Entertainment. They just now started a nonprofit, but he works with kids every day, and well, just about every day apart from his own. And, he loves his community and the type of work that we're doing, just as well as Fred Prinville. Been my brother since before, probably when I was in diapers. And he has an amazing story, and he'll probably tell you himself. I didn't any locations, but yeah, that's just about it. I probably talked too long, but there you go, Jay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jay Fortune, and I have a lot of questions. I'm the founder of Pine Hills Talk. It's basically a space in the same spirit as this, where we can come together and have these conversations. But before I even get ahead of myself, he's way too humble. So can we all just give a round of applause to the work that he did? On behalf of my brother Seven, and on behalf of my brother, my fellow moderator, Mr. Ron Howard, to thank you all for coming out here. Because the work continues in the rain and the snow. We don't have snow. I hope we never have snow. In the rain, hail, hurricanes, the work continues, as you can hear. Great things are happening in this area, all across this region, because of these organizations, because of you who are here to be part of this conversation. I want to begin where I get in trouble a lot. People get mad at me because I ask questions like, how did we get in this mess? And when you ask a question like that, something happens called accountability, and then people get uncomfortable. But I think we're all friends here, right? I think that's a good place for us to start. So my first question for the panel would be, where does this issue of youth incarceration begin? And I think in order to address the issue, we need to have at least, if not a concrete, definite 1 + 1 = 2 answer, we need to at least understand where some of the root causes are. So I would love to direct that to Seven, and then hear from the rest of our panel.
Hello. Okay, sorry. I was gonna say I got to introduce myself. I don't know if we want everyone else to introduce themselves first before we go to questions.
I think you can introduce yourself.
As I do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give your perspective.
Yeah. How do we get here? So yeah, it's a pretty interesting question. I think for the most part, largely you can call it disenfranchisement, but there's a lot more than just disenfranchisement from institutions. There's so much trauma that goes on within our communities, and some of them are inflicted, by generational trauma. Just how hard it is to come to pull a family up from nothing, which most of our residents here have to. I don't know if you guys know it, but Pine Hills, the area code for Pine Hills, it actually has the largest. Well, it is the largest. It has the largest mix of. Well, I don't know if it's in the nation or if it's just in Florida, but our area code has the largest amount of Haitians and Jamaican immigrants than any other zip code. And most of us are first generation, second generation. Our family had to learn the hard way how to come up, and it's really hard for the parents and for the kids to grow up in austerity, to grow up, being stigmatized, and where there's lack of resources, there's usually crime, and where there's crime, there's trauma, and there's so many different types of trauma. I'm forgetting all the different types, but I had it in my head.
It's a lot of trauma. We all deal with it.
Yeah, so it's basically like ACEs, diverse childhood experiences. We don't really have spaces to decompress, unpack all those pieces of trauma, and that's one of the main things I definitely wanted to build this board for. So we can build more spaces where we can unpack some of that trauma and find out how to resolve things without going to extremes or breaking somebody's face.
Thank you. We'll hear from Mr. McKenzie.
Cool. So my name is Marquise McKinley. Born and raised here in Orlando, Florida. I'm currently serving as the organizing director for Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, the group that actually passed Amendment 4 that restored voting rights to citizens in the state of Florida. I myself is a returning citizen. At the age of 15, I got took out of the juvenile system, charged as an adult for my very first offense and sent to prison. So to your question, how did we get there, right? I think it's many things that we can state or point fingers at, but just my experience, right? I think one of the things that I realized is the culture that you have in the house, right? That how a child is brought up, right? And you know, it's easy to say that, right? Because I grew up in a household with both of my parents, right? And you would think that I would have been on the perfect path to be a success child, but you know, I went to prison. Right. And then also, I think one of the biggest factors to that is just the resources and the stuff that we have in the community. I knew when I grew up in Pine Hills and grew up in the Abilene area, we had midnight basketball. We had a lot of stuff that we could constantly do. So we didn't have to go out there and do that. And if you look at the times now, it's like year after year, they're cutting resources from our youth and things. So it's like they left to do anything. So I think it's the factor of things that we can go into that question, right? But I think it's the way that a child is brought up, that support that they have, that life, the childhood experiences, and then also as a community, what are we doing to provide for those kids? Because we know at the kid brain is not developed until they're 25, so kids are going to make crazy decisions. They're going to make crazy mistakes because they don't really know what they're doing. So it's just as a community, what are we doing is to support them all around, in home and outside of the home as well as without them.
Hello, how you guys doing today? My name is Eli Sahab. I'm actually the owner of For the Kids Entertainment. We've been in our community serving bounce houses, all type of entertainment for the kids. Also, we just started a nonprofit called For the Kids Future. Doing For the Kids Entertainment kind of led me to like, these kids need more. At first, you know, I wanted to just provide entertainment, joy for the kids. Excitement, especially, I know we still going through a pandemic, and these kids and these youth, they living in different times. I know back in the days we used to love playing basketball, riding bikes. I feel like these kids and these youth, you know, just from what I see, they just have a lot of time on their hands. And every time I see an organization or a program or something pop up, I'm like, you know, I thank God, because it's never gonna be enough. And that's why I appreciate everybody here just, you know, doing what you guys do, because it's gonna take a lot more. It's gonna take a village. I have 4 kids myself, and these kids need attention. I know I do a lot in the community, but I'm like, wow, I gotta give my kids more attention too while I'm at home. You know, I get caught in my phones and caught these kids. You get them, you just send them off with their iPad and their cell phones and think everything's gonna be okay. Now their mind's gonna start wondering, they're gonna start searching things. Some days I'm not watching the kids, but I'm listening to what they're listening to. Like, what is that? You know, like, so it's just like these kids, it takes a village. And it's not just home, you know, thank God for the teachers and mentors and leaders that's doing what they're doing, because, you know, if these parents, I believe it's the parents now, you know, me, myself, I fight generational curses, and I feel like a lot of youth is finding it's not even their fault. But you know, it's up for us to change it, and we changing it right now. I feel like this generation right here is going to be the game changer, and we already are by just even putting this together, and just being here is like a blessing. I don't know. I've been very prayerful lately. I've been dealing with a lot, because I feel like God's been calling me in these areas, and now it's like, just when you pray, everything's come in alignment. So I'm just here to serve, and I feel like, you know, just giving these kids attention, putting these art programs, music, drawing, like creative, like I feel like that's like therapy. I actually got into music this year a lot more than I ever did, and that's my therapy. I actually listen to my music all day now, and that's what gets me through my days. Just hearing uplifting stuff. And I feel like putting that in front of these kids and youth is going to be a good push for them. So.
My name is Fred Prindale. I'm raised in the Pine Hills community. I have done various tasks for the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Yep. My skill set is more into public speaking and tutoring. I was incarcerated for 15 years. So in my incarceration, I was a tutor for like 6 years, teaching adult basic education into basically getting their GED. So to your question, what I think the problem is, being from the Pine Hills area, my parents were immigrants, so being a first generation Haitian here, it was difficult for me growing up because the stigma of being Haitian and being ridiculed in school. So it was very hard. And of course, resources too. I couldn't find the resources or support that I wanted because my parents were at work. So I think the problem here is more so not finding resources and also the culture. Because the culture in Pine Hills is nobody want to be tried. And how do we go after that? How do we react when we are tried? Everybody, different households, will handle that problem. And a lot of us aren't taught problem resolution skills as a kid. We don't know how to deal with our emotions. You hit me and I hit you harder, and then you go get a rock. It's going to make me, and it goes up to whatever it is. You get what I'm saying? So I was privileged to, well, it came as a gift and a curse to live in Haiti for 3 years. And the difference there was in that culture, not everybody can afford an education. So in school, you don't perform, you get in your butt attacked because that's valuable money. But the difference is here is education is not valued. You look more so as a nerd. So people they're not self-aware. So I feel like that was my problem. I was more so, okay, you're gonna hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. Okay, you're gonna do it, I'm gonna beat you at your game. And that landed me in prison. And in prison, of course, you know that people come from different backgrounds. And you see that from how you was raised. Me, I was raised as a church kid off Pine Hills. I went to Gilgal Seventh-day Adventist Church. How I was raised in the community and the things I was involved in, of course, I got into the fair, not these people that their parents never put them in. They never put us on. So for our youth is you can attack it from many directions. But I think that self-awareness and finding what they love to do in a fun way that can generate income for them. I think that's the best way because we're in a different time now where social media and all these platforms are helping them. So what we can do is only share our experiences and add our skill set to everybody in the community. And that's how I feel about it. Thank you for that.
My name's Andrew. I'm a spoken word artist, a local business, just the FRCS chapter leader, and also help serving out, with my time and volunteering. So let me tell you a little bit about myself in reverse chronological order. I just got out of prison January 1st. I served 17.5 years. In my prison bed, I was a prison lawyer, a teacher, a public speaker, as well as a spoken word artist. And I realized some things throughout my sentence and dealing with people just the same way that Fred was talking about just recently.
I come from Chicago. I terrorized the community, I destroyed, I did all the things we talked about. I'm the same guy. It's just I've gone through a change, and I'm trying to help others go through that same change. I believe that poverty begets crime. So that's first thing first. As long as we're poor, we're gonna have crime. I believe that pain hurt people. You know what I'm saying? I believe that we all go through an identity crisis. And I can't speak for a woman. I can't speak for another race, but I can tell you as a black man, a black man struggles with identity crisis, finding out who he is, who he really is, not who people are telling him that he is. Also, a team, any team, white, black, it doesn't matter, a team is looking for themselves. And again, society, media, everybody's telling them who they are, and they need time to realize they really are. And like our moderator said, we got to take some responsibility. Selfishness and apathy is one of my answers to this question. So many people look and want to say, oh, they recognize it. They look at the news and they can talk about it all day, but are you really putting your hand into it? Are you really trying to influence and impact the situation? You can say something positive, some sort of positive reinforcement, some sort of negative reinforcement. I see what you're doing, and it's a good thing. When you see that kid on their way to school with a bag on, I might help for that day. In that same sense, you see that kid over there, going the opposite direction, you can lean your head out the window and say, I see what you're doing too. But are we doing that, or we just roll the window up and just talk about it? So that's my 4 answers. Poverty, pain, identity crisis, and selfishness and apathy.
I'll try to keep this short because this is one of my we have to talk about the systemic issue and then the community and individual accountability. Because we know what mass incarceration, this crisis, stemmed from. Prisons evolved from slavery. It's a racial justice issue. We had the 1994 crime bill. We had the war on drugs, all designed to target our inner city communities. And that has evolved into juvenile life without parole. We are the only country that will sentence a child to die in prison. 80% of those children are Black and brown because those laws get passed in communities and districts get voted DAs that enact those type of sentences on our Black youth. So in the war on drugs, when they took out a large percentage of our Black males, our young Black children lost their male figures, moms working 2 or 3 jobs, and now the streets are raising the kids. And then we look at our Black youth and think that they're just running wild, that somehow it's theirs, but the family was attacked. And so now it goes into our accountability because we know how it happens. First, we have to dismantle the system and rebuild it in a way that benefits us. And then we have to look at our own communities. When I heard you say Pine Hills has the highest youth incarceration rate, and you see this narrative, it's the same one, the super predator that came out and it's happening now. So now everybody's running scared because they think these Black youth are running wild. When statistically, Black youth are not more prone to violence than white youth. That's right. It's that our communities are the ones that are Black boys and Black girls that are sentenced to these extreme sentences for doing the same thing because of their location. And we have criminalized poverty. And I speak to this personally because I was that Black youth that me and my brother, 12 and 13, were the youngest children at the time in the state of Florida to be direct filed for homicide. I spent 16 years and 8 months in prison, came out when I was 30, and I dedicated my life to healing the very system that was designed to destroy us by speaking my truth. Our Black youth get direct filed, and when they do, they're now convicted felons, which impacts them for the rest of their life. So now they're hindered in getting jobs and voting to create the change that's needed to dismantle the system. And now that generational poverty continues because they're not making 6-figure jobs unless they're becoming entrepreneurs. This generation is changing things. And so in order for us to talk about, once we get to the root, then we can talk about what we can do as a community and then heal the system. from the inside, and we have the power. But that's why the power has to be stripped from us. So we have to fight to get a seat at the table. Those of us that are impacted have to use our voices, and it has to be done in a way that's redesigned, because it's always been those that have been harmed and those that have committed harm on two completely different sides of the aisle, and they've made us enemies. What's unique about what I do is we work with survivors of youth violence, we work with families of those that are incarcerated, and we work with people like me who are the youth that had the violence, and work on restorative justice, because locking them up for the rest of their lives isn't doing anything. It's actually economically the worst decision they can make. It takes more money to put one juvenile in prison for the rest of their lives than it does to send 10 of them to college on a full ride scholarship. So something's wrong with the system. And I'm gonna get off the soapbox now because I go on and on.
Yeah, I don't know how to go after that. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so my name is Keith Chapman, Foundation. I do a lot of different things. Have a clothing brand, do events, a whole bunch of things. But to answer the question is how we got here. I don't know exactly, you know what I'm saying, exactly how we got here, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like one of the ways we can help things out is like situations like this, us coming together, working together with the community, us having the brain power, and we know when we have the resources and we have social media and things like this. But I feel like we're definitely going toward putting things together, situations like this is the right direction. And then that's where I feel like a team come together to where how we fix it. But yeah, the past, I'm not saying it's just the past, but the future is the main thing. So how we got here, don't know, but I know for a fact we're in the right direction to make everything better.
Coach Ruben Saldana, and this is Messages of Florida, based here in Orlando. And Root Camp is my program. In a very short form, we do Gloves Up, Guns Down, and we're part of the Inspired Ghetto Kids, the most famous youth dance group based in Africa. Matter of fact, I'm very proud of them. Right now, as we're talking, they're performing at the world's biggest sport, at the world's biggest game, and I think it's in Qatar. And if anybody knows where the Ghetto Kids came from, that's not just to sound hard or pretty, they didn't mean it in that context, but they're performing at the soccer game right now across the world, and I'm very proud of them. A lot of people don't know there's 30 orphans, and they're over there performing for the royal family and everybody else. But yeah, we represent the United States version of that. And I'm not gonna answer the question, brother, because it was just, I'll hit up on another question. There was an abundance said, and I agree with everything that was said.
I have two notes I want to make before I ask my next question. My first note is please take your time. This is a soapbox friendly environment. This is a soapbox friendly space. You are here because you care. You are up there because you give a damn enough to speak on it. So any answer, please. Per se, but I can stand here and we talk this perspective of matters. I just want to put that out there. My second thing is my organization was born because of this conversation about narratives. I want to send a shout out to my Pine Hills that's also in here because I think Cassandra has a similar thought process. Growing up, I always thought it was weird when I would walk into like a classroom in like a Cody, and suddenly all the kids that don't look like me want to interview me. Oh, you're from Pine Hills? Have you ever been robbed? Oh, you're from Pine Hills? Is your dad a drug dealer or somewhere? That wasn't my experience. But the older I got, the more I realized, like, yo, this narrative thing is very real. Like, and we, as whatever you want to label this as, we can't have this bad habit where we let people build narratives around us and we just try to break out of it, or we just try to exist to the best of our ability within that narrative. when you talk about criminalizing poverty, that is terrifying. That is a crisis that we have to address. So going into my next question, what do you feel like is missing from the conversation? I want to pin onto that question. How do we begin chipping away at this narrative? How do we begin resetting the conversation? Because if we're starting from the position of poor people create crime, then we're all criminals, then you really kind of setting yourself up for failure in that conversation. So I want to start at that end of the table again. Let's get into it.
I'm gonna need a mic for this one.
And please take your time.
I'm about to go hard on this one. And I like what you said, brother, about accountability, and I know a couple of y'all hit on that, right? We have a hard time. Our communities, our Black and Latino communities. I'm not too sure about the poor white communities. They do get locked up a lot too. But I really don't know their situation. But I will speak for the Black and Latino community. We have a very poor time in accountability. We're quick to blame the system. We're quick to blame this and that, and those things are true. But we're doing the, one finger point at you, 3 pointing back, right? Like, I was incarcerated as well. And for the brothers and the sister that was incarcerated, and I can't speak for the sister, but I can definitely speak for the brothers. When you're in the open bay dorm, we speak. The men speak amongst each other, right? And the vast majority aren't coming back out here to do right. They're very open about it. Nobody can tell me I'm wrong. I did 19 years in the system here in Florida. Been to the oldest system in Florida. Went in when I was 16. I'm really not that. Things like this, I don't argue about because I know what I've been through, right? And the majority that when they speak about it, now when I get out, I'm gonna do it this way. That we're gonna become smarter criminals. I was one of them, right? That I thought I was gonna do it smarter and better. And there has to be an accountability factor to that, right? And so, crossing over to what you said, brother, to answer the question a little more direct. Anybody in here heard of prison reform? Can we get a raise of hands? And I'm not trying to be funny about this. I'm going to prove a point. What about criminal justice reform? Right? Re-entry. A lot of people don't know what that, but there's a lot of hands of re-entry, right? All right. If we don't start getting this together, if we don't start coming up with solutions, right? What we're going to start. And I was thinking about this when Seven shot us the questions. We're going to start teaching pre-entry. This is what we're gonna have to start teaching our kids how to make it in there. If we don't start backing up these programs, we're going to have to start teaching the kids how to survive in prison, how to see your mother cry, how to see a grown adult, if you go in very young, try to get something up your rectum because you get visits because you got a mama that cares about you and they don't, and they're gonna use you as a mule to bring them all the dope inside. Right? This might sound disgusting, but this is the real. They all know. Everybody at the time know I'm not joking. How to go get you a visit while somebody done broke in your locker, looking at the pictures of your sister and your daughter, and they're masturbating at the bathroom with your pictures and selling your pictures. This is reality. Am I lying, brothers? Am I lying? See, we don't talk about this. The brothers get out, they want to glorify. Oh, I was running. Nobody ain't running no prison. They sit up there giving their DC numbers just like everybody else. I was on the death row unit. I wasn't on death row, but I was at the unit. Even the brothers on death row, they're sitting up, giving their numbers too. There's a place for them when they get out of line. They will control us in there. So what I'm saying is, I'm not here to say that I have the solution. I'm saying we need to start being that village because we're about to start teaching our kids something that never existed. I'm coining this word today, pre-entry program. How to survive when you get in it because you're behind, don't want to be accountable, and you don't want to stick with the programs that are out here to help you out. And then I'm gonna give some accountability to the parents. Stop thinking it's cute when your kid's throwing up a gang sign in the picture with you. Stop thinking it's cute. I come from a gang background, understand it fully. We just came from Chicago, brother, 4 weeks ago. I'm from the brothers from Chicago. I do a lot of work in Chicago. Stop thinking it's cute that your baby is sitting there with a gun in their hand in the picture. It's cute until you go to the funeral. It's not cute no more, right? They think it's cute. And I was thinking, why do they think it's cute? Maybe because it's associated with the love that they had with the father, right? Because the dad did that. Dad was a gangster. Dad, so they get a little, oh, that's so cute. Look, it's like his father. But look where the father's at. Look where the uncle's at, right? So this question is so big, brother. All I gotta say is if we don't start getting it together, we're gonna start teaching pre-entry, how you can survive when you get in because you're headed there. Statistics prove you're headed there anyways. And I know I sound like the bad guy, but it is what it is. Yeah. My homeboys glorified it. They taught me wrong. They lied. They told me such and such ran. Gangster such had to start all over. It don't matter if you go in 2, 3 murders, that don't mean nothing. I went in with 2 murder charges. That didn't mean nothing. When I got to the Rock, Rayford, the oldest prison in the state of Florida, it started at 0. There was other peoples in there with murder charges. They didn't give a damn what I had, who I was with, where I stayed. None of that matters. You start all over. Now you got to stab people up and hope you don't end up in death row. You go in with 10 years, you might come out with 2,000 years. Right? This is what we're going to start teaching our kids if we don't get it together. That's what I'm going to say towards that.
It's a terrifying thought.
What was the question again?
How do we change the narrative? I'm gonna make it unique to you. I know you very well. I know your work in the city very well. Why did you start an entertainment company? Where did New West Orlando come from? Why did you feel like that was something important?
Yeah, so started with I started New West Orlando because of, like you said, the narrative. Most of the time when somebody hears West Orlando, they think like, oh, lock your doors, I mean, something crazy might happen, situations like that. And I know for a fact that's not the narrative all the time, you know what I'm saying, at all. So I was like more of the vibe of like, it's a new situation that's going on, there's new energy, the new vibe, you know what I'm saying, new generations, us coming together, working together as a team collectively, from somebody from Pine Hills, somebody from Carver Shores, somebody might be from Windermere, etc. That's the west side, you know what I'm saying? Us coming together, it makes a lot more sense. And me being the type of person I am, where I'm like diverse, I can meet a lot of different people. I know a lot of different people. I'm hearing like both sides. I'm hearing where I'm playing football where somebody might live in Carver Shores and I'm coming to school happy. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got this and I got that for Christmas. And they looking like, oh, Christmas just another day. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, I talk to them about that, you know what I'm saying? But then talk to my other friends, they tell me, oh yeah, my dad got me a jet ski. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, oh, okay, we go to the same school. So being in the middle, so I'm like, us working together, it just makes everything that much bigger. So the reason why I even start with like the entertainment company is because that's one of the situations that bring a lot of people together. You know what I'm saying? Music, it could be like I said, dancing, a lot of different situations like that. So now we ain't talking about money, we talking. So me doing that, it just made everything that much bigger. And it's just been nothing but a blessing, because like I said, now it brings the whole community together in different kind of ways. So yeah, that's kind of reason why I started that situation. And it's been nothing but a blessing. It's been it's gonna be 8 years in March. And like I said, wasn't all peaches and roses and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But seeing it, it makes a lot of sense. Because then I know for a fact now, even in these generations, like these kids, they on their phones, they looking at stuff that we looking at, you know what I'm saying? So they're looking at situations as into, they want money. You know what I'm saying? They talking about how to make some money. They looking at if they ain't got Gucci shoes on, they're losing. They looking like, okay, this is what society's pushing out. So now being able to show them even on entrepreneur side of like, okay, look, you can do this. You know what I'm saying? If you want to be a YouTuber, you can do things like this. You need a videographer, you know what I'm saying? Bringing all those different type of resources together. So that's more reason why.
I just want to jump in because I know there's a lot of cameras in here, so I want to put it on the record. You inspired me to start an entertainment company. You inspired me to start an entertainment company. There are other promoters in our city like Dev, who's a coach at Akoi now. I've never heard the term pre-entry, but I know that if we have promoters that are bringing out 300, 400, 500 of our youth, having them in a room for a couple hours, we get to them and get them on board, with preventing this, I think that's one of the ways that we stop that problem. I think the same way we can talk about how Pine Hills is most incarcerated or we most this, most that, we also create a lot of artists. We have a lot of art and talent coming out of this one little box. So I think we need to use that to change the narrative. Ms. Kaplan, what do you think?
Narrative change for me has been like the ultimate goal of my life's work, to live a life of redemption, because automatically, speaking for me personally, when somebody looks at you and thinks you've been convicted of a homicide, like you go for a job, even when they're fair chance hires, they're gonna be like, we'll hire anybody but somebody with that charge, right? So the biggest way to change the narrative is by your life example. Because now when we come to them, there have been over 900 juvenile lifers released because of our legislative work, state by state legislative work. And out of those 900, not one of them have recommitted a violent offense, not one. And so our lives, whether we're working in corporate America or they're working entry-level jobs, they're successful in their entry by the fact that they never went back to prison. Right. And so that changes the narrative. So now when I hear people talking about, don't let them go because they're gonna come home and terrorize you, you can look them in the face and say, well, I'm proof that that's not the case. And so now in my role to work with our strategic partners, now I'm walking into the room in corporate America with the Walmarts and the Amazons, and I'm saying, hey, listen, let me sit at the table with you to discuss your fair chance hiring policies. Because one, I'm gonna give you my personal experience on how it impacted me when you told me no, and how that affected my children, and it's gonna affect my children's children. And you say, everyone now is, every corporate business is saying Black Lives Matter, and they're putting on their letterheads, and it opens the door, the opportunity for us to say, show me. Show me, let's see if your hiring practices reflect that, to give opportunity to disenfranchised people. There's no one more disenfranchised than someone that's dealing with the intersectionality between racism, feminism, sexism, many of them that are coming home in their 50s, and then it's ageism, to open the door for us. And then once one of us get hired and we prove that we're gonna be the best worker you ever had, because one thing about people that are incarcerated, we're unique. You bet on us, we will not disappoint you, because we're so grateful you gave us the chance. When I worked at McDonald's flipping fries, I was there 15 minutes early. I picked up every shift when somebody else called off, went up for management in 30 days, and was told that because I was a convicted felon, I couldn't move up, different level of background check. And it happened over and over and over. And God used that to now position me to be able to say, hey, I have experience with this, and let me talk to you about it. Because I've shown you in 7 years since I've been home who I am and what my character is, and I don't feel like I have to convince anybody of that. But the second part, what's missing in the conversation are the voices of the people that are directly impacted. To hear from us as mentors, it hits different. That's like if you're going through drug addiction and you have a social worker that just has a degree but had no addiction experience. What can they possibly tell you? That's how most of us think, right? If you can't relate to me, but so many people when they come home out of prison, they're made by society to feel like they're voiceless, or they're not, or they're less than. They don't understand their power to be the agents of change in their communities. Unfortunately, most of them, it's a badge. You go to somebody 13, 14, 15, 16 and tell them you served a decade or more in prison, you already have their ear. So if we use that influence to talk to our youth and be in positions to mentor you, but unfortunately, a lot of organizations won't even hire somebody that's a convicted felon to be in their mentorship program. And that's the biggest issue there, or to be able to work in the school.
It sounds like you're talking about accountability.
Yes, absolutely.
That's gonna get us in trouble. I like that. Mr. Antoine.
The narrative. Poverty equals crime. Poverty doesn't necessarily equal crime. You have two kids that come out of the same household. One kid chooses this direction, the other kid chooses a completely separate direction. Again, we deal with identity crisis. We deal with people telling us who we are, or our peers and neighbors, whoever telling us who we are. One thing that's done in prison that I've seen is that you got a kid that may or may not get money. So he's hungry because they don't feed enough. It's not happening. They don't feed enough. And what he'll do is he might break into lockers. He might wait around the corner and, hurt somebody and take from them. And one of the things that people that have been in this society multiple years understand is this kid's hungry. And he doesn't know, he doesn't have a hustle. He wasn't taught a hustle. So there's a subculture there. And what'll be done is you'll teach that kid, listen, man, you make money, this, and this. And oftentimes that kid will take off and make his money just like that, and that. He'll never go back to doing what he was doing. It's about choices. And it's about mentorship, being able to, again, take accountability and teach and show and demonstrate this is the way to go, rather than just leaving them on their own to do and figure out things on their own, because otherwise all you have is what you have seen.
Can I ask you a question? You talk about choices. There's calculations that go into every choice. So, all right, we take the two kids. We take the one side that is committing a crime to try to sustain himself. The one, because you're an artist, correct? Your voice is your instrument. We deal with me and Keith. We deal with a lot of artists that aren't who they portray to be in their music, but for some reason, whatever calculation they make, this is how I'm going to reach my audience. I'm gonna be the tough guy, even though you're not. How far back do we have to go to kind of change that rationale to where it's like, no, you can be yourself. It's okay. Like if it's dope, we'll rock with it. Like how do we cross that bridge?
That's difficult.
Money.
Yeah.
That is incredibly difficult because that's what people want to hear.
That's right.
You have Chance the Rapper. You have rappers that are good and do talk about who they really are, and that's not what people want to hear. People want to be entertained, and you can go from music to movies. You want to watch the gangster movie, and that's just difficult. I don't really have an answer for that. That's something that I've talked about for so many years. That's something that has been a part of the conversation for so long, probably before I was even born. I have no idea. It's what people want, because what people want is what they spend money on. What they spend money on is what pays, and what pays is what they want. They want the money.
I'm a rom-com guy personally, but
I pretty much agree with what everybody is saying. Just to piggyback off what he was saying, Henry was just saying. That's the guy that I was. Just to be flat out honest with you guys, when I was locked up in 33rd for 4 years, my people wasn't looking out like that, and the people that was getting money, they was praying, especially the weekends. That's just how it was, because I wasn't getting food. So what changed, and I'm gonna tell you what changed me. What changed me one day, and I tell this story often because I'm the type of person that I'm 100% honest with the youth. When I tell them, because I don't glorify. So that I took his food, and he happened to be one of the nicest guys. He didn't want to fight for it, but he happened to be one of the nicest guys. And we had a connection because we had the same Lord. It was kind of weak in my heart a little bit. I grew up in a church house, you feel me? So it came a moment when we got so cool that I had to let him know that I'm the one that did that to him. And that changed me right then, because I was like, I'm bringing bad juju on myself doing that anyway. So that changed. So it's moments in my life that changed how I started looking at certain things. And everybody that go in that situation, that's what Coach was trying to tell you. It's a dirty game in there. You gonna team up with people that's broke like you. You gonna pack up and get on, and that's part of the conversation that ain't talked about. But when people get out, especially people that are artists, what's that part? because people want to hear that. I tell people, I came out of prison, I served 15 years. They, man, how you did that? Off the dribble. Because when I got the 33rd, because I was on the news, I was a celebrity when I got the 33rd. You feel me? So I don't think that's really ever gonna change, because that's who we respect. That's why we respect Scarface. That's why we respect all those people. But I think it's within us finding who we are, because I also make music too and poetry. And in order for people to understand, you got to tell the full picture. And I might be in that energy, but that's not what I'm putting out there. But that got to go out there so you can hear the good part. Because people respect, the only pastors I respected when I was growing up, the ones that I actually listened to, is the one that I felt like went through something. That's who people listen to, regardless of the sector. So changing the narrative to me would be like, what changed it for me is when I really seen that, okay, these people ain't really gangster as they really say they are. You get what I'm saying? When you go, okay, I kind of bragged on this. When I was in prison, I've been in there from 19 to 30. I never joined the gang. Not everybody can say that. It's because in my mind, I was like, these people really got these people doing whatever they want. You feel me? And people join different. I was the basketball type, and I became a teacher. That saved me a little bit. But a lot of people join gangs and other nefarious activities, and it messes them up. And a lot of people go in there, and this is what a lot of people don't talk about too. A lot of people get on those medications when they get in there, and it tear them up. I've seen people come and they get on that medication acting like they crazy, and they become crazy for real. So that's just a little spirit, and I'm just saying it's a multi-headed dragon. But I think it comes from also expressing who you are, like being an artist, because a lot of people, they respect people that's doing that, and they don't feel like they can get out. If you ain't shoot them up, anybody.
Sounds like you're talking about being honest.
Yeah.
Being more honest in the conversation.
Kind of like yeah, I think it's a multi-pronged issue. First off, a lot of the kids, they're raised in that narrative. It's like, fish in water, you don't know you're in water because you're kind of immersed in it. And it's like, you know better, you do better, and it's bigger than just the kids, a lot of people who believe the narratives, that's all they see on the news. That's kind of their water. That's the atmosphere and the environment that they're into. So, they've never been to Pine Hills, but they've seen it on TV. So they know, people getting shot, it's this West Side story every single day. Yeah. And another side of the story when it comes to narratives is, the youth, they need platforms to advocate for themselves. All throughout school and in their home lives, et cetera, they're, kind of told to, be heard and not speak until, they're told to speak. Be seen. Thank you. This right here, we kind of made this accountability board. One of my, if not, primary goals or alternate goals was to, have a platform where the youth can advocate for themselves. I was supposed to have 3 of my young guys here, but I guess weather and they needed to ride and all that stuff. But they have to be the ones to advocate for themselves, and not just the youth with recidivism problems, but other youth who want to advocate for youth issues. I also had the folks from the Black Student Union from Oak Ridge and Ocoee who were supposed to be here. They want to help start a youth court in their schools where it's kind of a restorative justice process where instead of getting kids suspended, they'll get different sanctions from their peers so that they can do community service instead of being suspended or expelled for X, Y, and Z. But youth have to.
That's not evidence. You said Cody and Oakland?
Yeah, so they're the head of their Black student unions, and they want to help. They want to start one at their schools. I'm trying to start one at Evans too with March for Our Lives, but we're in that process. Definitely. I'm also trying to start it, and that's a lot of pressure to put on kids for sure, because the way that our institutions work, school is based for kids to be obedient. If they're not obedient, if they don't learn that part, they'll get weeded out early, and yeah, kind of set up for failure. And at home, if they're not obedient to their parents, they're more. Yeah. Be able to change or make their own narratives. And they do definitely need advocates to be able to make a platform for them to be able to speak their own truths and work out some of their own issues, which is a goal of this board or initiative.
I want to hear from Eli on the same question, but you have something that a lot of people with the kids that you serve.
I learned through the years with these kids, you got to lead by example. When I started out, I was leading by example, and I see how you. But if I'm not actually doing it, they're not going to do it. They're not going to step up. If I say, hey, do this, that, but they see me slacking. So whenever I bring these kids and the youth around, I always in my mind make myself, I'm always the hardest worker. You because we could tell these kids so much, but they're only going to do so much. Especially we living in a generation where it's monkey see, monkey do. Not trying to disrespect these youth, but they're doing what they seeing on TV. They're doing what they seeing. The Kodak Black and all these artists, and they influence through the wrong situations. But I think what this world is showing us that these artists and these people that's leading these kids in this generation, those are, because we have a lot of artists, gangster artists, they passing away, they're incarcerated, and it's just, that's not the way, and they're learning that, and I'm seeing that through the youth that I've been around the past 10 years. And it's so funny because some of these kids they sweet kids, they loving kids, and you just to see them from 10 years, like, man, that ain't you, man. Stop hanging out with that boy, man. For real, that's not, chill out, man. Take that girl, I'm talking about this kid, one kid, I mentor him, and he's a 4-point student, but now he's so smart, he learned how to do the scams and do all the stuff to get money, so now he's a cool kid, so everybody wanna, getting money is like cool to these kids, having money. They have like 21s,
it's cool to us too.
Yeah, it's cool to us, yeah. But what's cool now is when we gotta continue to show these kids, it's cool to have your credit right. It's cool to have your savings up. It's cool to buy property. It's cool it's cool to be there for your kids and be there because I'm a father, and if I continue to live the way I'm living, yes, I thank God where I'm at now, but I was dealing with a lot of dysfunction, and that's not cool, man. That's not cool when I gotta tell my kids no. That's not cool when I don't have time to spend with my wife or anything, so you just like, you control this world, you control the world, you control your directions and your future and your destiny. So it's just leading by example. Like I said, like I told you earlier, I do music, of course I'm an entrepreneur, and it's not easy being a husband, a father, but you gotta just lead, pray, ask God for guidance, and just keep leading because they really impacted by us. Seeing us, you could tell them so much, but they gonna go off and just they not hearing that. But you put them in the system with you, show them the formula, they gonna attach to you. Like, even though I might not be the richest, but they see my movements and they continue to grasp to my energy. And I just want to continue to just show that more to them because I see how much of an impact I have. And I'm in here, I have a nephew, and I do a lot for the kids in the community. but for some reason I couldn't get to my nephew. And you know, like man, he sees me the most, so it's just like that made me step up around the house more. And you could think like these kids are so smart now. They smart. At 2 years old, they talking more.
Yeah.
And you know nowadays, so it's just like these kids. So we just got to put more things in front of their face, put more inspiring videos, more stories like this, more people that been in the field or been incarcerated or been in the trouble, or you know we got to continue to build them up and keep showing them the right way. So.
Marquise.
Cool. So I think first thing when you talk about narrative, one of the things that I want to make noted, right? So, you know, I'm a biblical person. I believe in God, you know, read the Bible, grew up in a Christian home. One of the things, one of my verses that I live by, you know what I'm saying, you can't quote exactly where it comes from, but the verse go that, you know, the tongue have the power of life and death, right? And for many years, and I'm not just gonna pick on Pine Hills, but I can name many hoods with certain names attached to them, but a very popular hood, right? We talk about Pine Hills. Pine Hills, I grew up, you know, I'm 32 years old. When we moved from the projects to move to Pine Hills, we weren't moving to Pine Hills, we was moving to Crime Hills. And for years, Pine Hills was known as Crime Hills. People from out of town, they don't even say Pine Hills, you saying Crime Hills. So what you think gonna happen for years? We grew up in a culture that we gotta make sure Pine Hills keep that name, Crime Hills. So of course we're gonna have that.
You got so much street cred.
Right. Right, and you could talk about Mercy Drive, right? For years, Mercy Drive was known as Murder Drive, right? And I can name all the hoods and give you those acronyms, and so we lived that to the names that we was attached to, right? So that's one of the things I think we have to start to allow some of the attachments be tied to our communities or anything that we're doing to our kids, all of that, right? And then the second thing on narrative change, right? I have to agree to what the sister said. When you want to change the narrative, the best way to change the narrative is allow people who's going through those situations to lead those initiatives, right? And big shout out to you for this event, but it would have been even more dope if kids we talk about, they would have been in these chairs, right? They would have been on these houses, you had it planned or whatever, but still, we have to make sure that, I would have liked for it, this panel to be talking about kids that's incarcerated, being inside of the jails. It took me 10 years from the time that I got released in 2008, same year I was supposed to graduate high school. It took me from 2008 all the way to 2018 before I could go back into the jails and speak. That's the problem. Them kids needed to see me the first day I came out of jail, but because I have a background, they stopped me, right? The schools, I have a business, making good money. The schools don't have a problem. I actually need to participate and donate my hard-earned money to take care of other kids. But if I come in, I can't even go to the schools and volunteer. I should be the one in the class talking to the kids that's getting suspended at ISS. Let me teach the class for a day. So we also have to look at, when we talk about narrative, we gotta look at the policies that's put in place, because you can't take, I know when I was in jail, I ain't wanna hear nothing from nobody. First question we ask when people come in jail, you been in jail? No, I'm tuned out. I don't want to hear that you got to say. So we can't put people in the community to have conversation with our kids if they don't know what those kids have been through. And at the same time, when you want to change these problems, one of the things that we see, like, and I just like put it out there, I rushed from being a Democrat to a Republican for many reasons, but one of the reasons that I left the Democratic Party is because the leadership didn't want to give me an opportunity, not just me, but it's the older generation that want to give us the opportunity to be involved. Y'all talk about our issues, don't bring us to the table. Then we do bring us to the table, the plans are already made, and then you don't even give us no type of say-so to how stuff is run. So we want to change this, we got to allow the kids to be a part of this. We got to allow them to lead their initiatives. And then when we see organizations are doing stuff in the community, we got to put pressure on our elected officials, make sure they back in those organizations. Our city and the county, our partner said they won't support organizations who have, people who help coming out of the system. They won't hire us. The city of Orlando, the Orange County, they all got policies. They won't hire people who got felony convictions, right? So I ain't gonna keep begging you. I'm gonna go start my own business, and I'm gonna put my own money into my community. So we just gotta put pressure on all ends, and then when we do it, again, allow people, how we change things. FRC Amendment 4 got passed. Of course, people who voters. I always say that it was our supporters. But when our canvas team, we had people who was formerly incarcerated, knocking on doors, telling voters the reason why they couldn't vote. So they don't see the people who've been to it, you know what I'm saying, leading those initiatives, that, you know what I'm saying, that lived experience is one of the best ways we're gonna be able to change narratives. You gotta give opportunity to the people that's actually in that lived experience.
Credibility comes from accountability. They don't want the accountability, and then they wonder why there's no credibility when they come to talk to us. And as my time comes to an end, I want to thank the forum for this opportunity to be in front of you today. I want to thank you guys for this conversation, because changing these narratives is life or death for us. Like, this is not a game. This is my passion. This is what my last breath will be dedicated to this fight. But I have crime bills came up, so I have to get my lick back. I've lived in Pine Hills 25 years. It's been amazing. There's nowhere else I want to live. There's nowhere else I want to raise a family. There's nowhere else I want to be an active member of society. I don't feel safe when I go in downtown Orlando. They be shooting people in downtown. People get shot on Orange Avenue. Why they don't got a nickname? On that note, I'm gonna bring my good brother, Mr. Juan Howard, and we have a host. Yeah, what do you want to call it? We have a, is that on? The people, man.
Hello. Hi, community people.
Hello.
This would be a good time. Anybody want to stand up, stretch it a little bit? I'm going to, oh, there you go. I'm going to bring up Minister Jerry. I'm going to come up and say a few words. And once he's finished, then I'll have one or two questions, and then we'll go to community participation.
Greetings, everybody. Seven. It was God, because I mean I pretty much came to set this up, but I just left the church and something told me to come back. Now I see why. I pretty much can relate to everything you said. I've been to prison, programs, jails, detention centers, foster homes, and I noticed something that each and every last one of you guys spoke. You spoke of your experiences, but what you guys gained from your experiences was knowledge, right? That's what's wrong with this world. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." But what kind of knowledge? Because you can be wise in selling dope. Does that mean that you can't perish from it? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, what knowledge are we actually instilling into the youth? I do youth ministries. I'm a gospel rap artist. I go perform for the youth and things of that nature too. But it's, what are we giving them? This is a spiritual warfare.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Absolutely.
We can impart our perspective on them, but when it comes to a spiritual battle, could they utilize it to fight those demons off them? No. But if you give them the knowledge of the gospel, that's going to help them. So when you say, oh, it's what they watch on TV, it's all about the knowledge that we're putting into these kids. And it's not even us, but once again, it's spiritual warfare. Because, like, we're all here, but did you come here on your own will, on your own power? No. It's God's will, everyone's here. So once you have the knowledge of who you are, then you will know where you naturally derive from, which is God. Do you know that? You know why? Once again, spiritual warfare. So the enemy is actually giving them the knowledge that is unfruitful. So me, I gravitated towards, I grew up in the church. Daddy was a preacher, but the devil has a way of coming in. And with your perspective, meaning I experience, I can tell you all day about dope. I can't. But is that going to help you fight that devil off? No, it's not. So we need to push. The one thing that we're not pushing in this world is love. Because just like you said, the guy that you had experience with, he took his food. But it was the love that made you change, right? Exactly. You see what I'm saying? In his love, I can tell he went through, he's so passionate, you can feel it, you see in his demeanor. But he loves, he gained something out of that, to the point where he's up here. Every last one of y'all in here because y'all love what it's love. Because if you didn't love what you were doing, why would you be here? So it's like, we have to actually, to get out here, bro, time is running out. I don't care what nobody says. You can say what you want to say, but it's two places you're going to go when it's said and done, heaven and hell. make you mine. I do it all. And it's not about me. It's about serving with love. So I was in the mafia. I did a lot of evil stuff, bro. But when I had a run with Christ, it was love. That changed. Bro, they're not, and they feel like that's love. Jumping in the games, what they show you. Love, right? That's why I joined the mafia, because they showed me love that I didn't get from my parents. Oh, I thought it was love until I actually got into it. Then I catch a case, everybody telling on me. You see what I'm saying? But who was there for me? God. So it's like we have to motivate the youth. We have to motivate people. We have to actually encourage them with the right encouragement, because at the end of the day, just as you guys are eating my fruit, which is the knowledge, think about what these youth are out here, they're gravitating towards. The things they hear on the phone, the things they see on TV, the things they see on YouTube. It's the knowledge. So, but we can counteract that knowledge with the true knowledge, which is the gospel. Tell them about Jesus. Tell them about how he died for them. That is true power. Your perspective, you can tell somebody from your perspective, from your experience all day, but is that really true power? No. Because your perspective, they can take it and create their own perspective and come up with something more evil. But when you tell them about Jesus, the gospel, which is a lot today, it'll change you. I minister at this church.
Yes.
Jesus did this. I used to sag, big pistols on them. I used to do all that, but it was the love of Christ. I didn't try it all out there. I didn't try it all, but the love of Christ that I experienced is what changed my life. So if we're gonna push anything to these youth, we push in love. We do a youth ministry, Pastor Tracy and his wife, every Wednesday. We take the kids. What we do, we have them worshiping. We have them worshiping. We have them praising God, because that's their true identity. That's who they are. So it's like we have to give it back to them. Give it back what they need. And this world we're creating is so evil to the point where they just grasp and leverage, gravitate towards all these things. So they don't even have time to actually experience the love of God, because the devil already had it. Every last one of y'all came out of the womb with a target on your back. Like, just being real. Go what you had to go through. God loved you so much to take you through it, to give you that knowledge. So guess what? You know what to do and what not to do. And once again, it's knowledge, right?
Bring all your own here.
Push the gospel. If you're gonna push anything, push the gospel, because it works.
Yes.
It works, and it works.
Yes. And it works again. Preaching.
Minister, I want to take a second to thank you for having us here, for being open to this, because I know there's a lot of pastors in Pine Hills, right? There's a lot of churches in Pine Hills. I think there's like 700, whatever the last count was. Every pastor is not opening his doors to an event like this. So I would like to give you an opportunity to speak to those other ministers.
I'm actually a minister of the church. I mean, seven, we're buddies. Like, I'm one of the youngest ministers here. I'm not the actual pastor, but but it's God will. God let me hear. So it's like I'm serious about the youth, man. I like I said, I'm serious about saving souls in general, because at the end of the day, this is what it's about, bro. It's about saving souls. We come here, we create whatever we want to create, and we live the way we live. But at the end of the day, well, you're gonna go to heaven or hell.
Amen.
That is real wisdom, is looking at the world from God's point of view. That's what knowledge is. That's what wisdom is. You have to see it the way it was designed to see it. Other than that, this stuff is gonna. It's just was poor, bro. Homeless 2 years. Does that make me a criminal? They told me I would never be nothing, bro. I'm a master barber. I was a barber educator. So it's like you can't sit here and say that, oh, because they're poor, they're a criminal. That's not what it is. It's about like what the love that God has for you. What is it? We all have a destiny, right? You was all designed to do what it is that you were designed to do. But how could you do that without the correct knowledge? You wouldn't know who you are. So that all goes back to the love of God. You have to know God, because you ain't made in his image. How are you gonna know who you are? That's just like, for example, let's use that TV, right? It came with instructions. Who knows the TV better than the actual manufacturer? So who knows you better than the actual manufacturer? Who made you? If your car act up, do you take it to one of them homeless guys on the streets because of the fact that they tell you they can fix cars, and you got a BMW 528i? Or do you actually take it to a BMW place to manufacturer? So it's like the Bible is our manufacturing instructions. God is the manufacturer. So if something's wrong with you, go to the manufacturer. Now, once again, it's all naturally derived, like love.
And I'm back. So, the reason the crowd here, I see some people from Mothers Demand Action. Did you want me to, oh, you want me to go back here and let them give just a little bit about the organization? Because I think a lot of people might not know who they are. Oh, no, I'm gonna be doing something, so I won't do that to them.
Moms Demand Action is a volunteer organization. It's a national organization under Everytown for Gun Sense. And Everytown is the research and Everytown is the funding. But Moms Demand Action is the volunteers. And what we do is we work on gun sense legislation. We also work with gun sense candidates. We have been, especially this one, we've been canvassing like crazy, trying to get our gun sense candidates elected so that we can make major changes. One of the things that we're working on now is community violence intervention and prevention. And that's why we're here, because we want to work with you, under you, however we can help support you, that we can get to the youth so that they do exactly what you're saying, that they learn a better way, a happier way of living before they have to go through the jails. So that's why we're here, and thank you so much. This is amazing.
Okay. So most people in the community probably want to ask this question that they have in their mind concerning impact. So when there's a group or organization, activists that are doing things in the community, then you usually ask that question, are they having impact? And how do we measure the impact? So what can you all share about the kind of impact that you've been seeking? What kind of measurements maybe that you do, so you can be able to say, okay, here's our target and here's some of our progression, so that people can have some idea. Anybody want to go? I know. Let's start with Sam.
All right, yeah, as far as like this program, we haven't set those parameters up yet, but I know most of the folks here who have their own programs, who have been running for a few years, have their own testimonials. For my organization, for the most part, we're kind of like a chicken without its head because I'm doing so much, so I have not recorded as much info as I would need to, but I will pass the mic to whoever has. So, okay.
So as far as organizational wise, so working with Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, overall our impact is just to engage, formerly incarcerated individuals and directly impacted people. Just to, educate them as far as their voting rights, right? Not just voting rights, but just about how the system works in general. When you talk about impact, right, and everything, just talk to me about voting, right? You look at the last election, we look at the results of the election, right? And we look at the turnout in a lot of our communities. What we're starting to see is that it's not that our communities don't want to, just as an organization, I take the blame, as our organization and many other organizations, that we have to do better as far as educating our people, right? As far as holding them accountable, having conversations with them before election. When it's not election year, having conversations and being engaged about the issues. So on that scale, we just want to make sure that everyone, right down the state of Florida, you have over 7 million people who have a criminal record, right? So our impact that we want to make is make sure that each one that's coming through the system that has that record, that they pass on continues to find their future, right? For here in the state of Florida, like I said, I own a business, I have a nonprofit, I have a full-time job. Why is it that I still can't put my name on a rental application, right? So one of the things that I'm working on, on outside of the organization, I just purchased a property to rent to people that's coming out of, the criminal justice system, because I know it's hard for those individuals to be able to rent. So the impact that I want to continue to make is just anybody that has a felony conviction, just making sure that they have an easy transition when they come back home, because I know I was only successful because I had the support that I had around me. But I know that many people, you know what I'm saying, who lays on those bunks, I had many bunkies who never got a letter, right? So I know how I feel not to have that support. So we're not going to impact those, because the impact that I want to continue to make, and I'm sure that all of us on this board here, is just making sure anyone who's been incarcerated or facing incarceration, they have that support so our communities continue to thrive and be safe.
Yeah, I was just gonna add again, for the most part, that hasn't been spoken over yet, because we're still building the program out. But for the most part, we just want to support folks coming out. I wish Johnny Alderman was here, because he had a similar talk about impact and measurable impact in research-based programs and stuff like that.
I'll be a little bit upset.
Okay.
I think you might be selling yourself short.
Put me on the seat.
Well, you talked earlier about the different pillars.
Yeah.
That you guys have in the program, the entrepreneurial program for the young kids.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
It's not necessarily that you have, let's say, 100 kids that came into the program and 50 of those kids have reached this level, but apparently you've already had some.
Yeah, so we had like 21 kids in that program. About 16 of them, they made a profit of at least $200, which isn't easy.
But what age range?
Oh, so they're like 12 to 16.
I think that's what they need to know, because that's significant. You gotta blow your own horn a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't think about that when you said that, the way you formed the question, but yeah. I don't know if anyone else wants to go, but yeah.
Anyone else? Eli?
Gonna continue to just put the right things in front of them. I realized, to tell a story, I was mentoring a kid in Washington Shores, and I felt like I could have been there more. The kid actually, I started slacking, and then his mom called me and said he got incarcerated for murder. He got a murder charge, and I'm like, man, I was just, probably like I didn't see him in like a month or two, and I felt depression because I had connections with him where I felt like I could have maybe, you can't change what these kids gonna do, what they got in mind, but I feel like if I would continue to get him involved, pick him up, let him be around the business, let him be around different environments, could have changed the dynamics of that situation. So just me, I never was, I was arrested one time, and it wasn't my fault, but I went through the situation. I took a charge for friends, and it was, and I ended up having the consequences. I went to real estate school. I couldn't get my fingerprint. So it was like just experiencing those small things is like, you want to just continue to direct these kids in the right avenue, and continue to make that impact, which is, like I was speaking about earlier, is leading by example, getting them involved, putting these programs in front of them, and letting them consume their mind with positive things that's going to encourage them. Like, this kid just got a juvenile, and he loved cameras. Like, hey, come freelance for me. I pay you by the hour, I give you, the thing about it, these kids want free money. So it's like, hey, show me your work. And so what I do is I pay them a certain rate, but if they show me that they want it, I get them extra, but so just putting the right things.
Don't pass the mic.
Go ahead.
How many have you mentored?
Well, I go around the metro, but now under my, it's like, man, you want to not give up on them, but you want to put them in headlock. It's like, but then I realized, I know it was some people that had the patience for me. They wanted to put me in the headlock. I think some people that still do business with me sometimes. You ain't send that email, come on, get it together. So I know they getting it together, so.
I know, I should be shutting up right now, but only we do this. The big $1 million nonprofits don't go around talking, oh, well, you know, this isn't perfect and this isn't perfect. But you guys are doing the actual work. So don't minimize the work that you're doing.
And how long? You finished? Along that, can I have this back? Along that vein, go back for the last 2 years. How many children total do you think you had in your program?
Well, not, well, I could say impact.
No, how many kids do you think you've seen throughout 2 years that come through the program?
Because I was involved, I was mentoring that, I don't know, I mentored that, I hope for a few years till I got extremely busy. Youth of America, Mr. Stan, I don't know if y'all heard of him. He got that acres over there, Silver Star, behind by the juvenile, but I didn't impact, I didn't ran across probably hundreds of kids, thousands of kids. I just did a 2-week course with 8 Ways. I don't know if anybody familiar with 8 Ways. They got a program in Winter Garden. So I did a workshop with them. So it just, I don't have a program myself as of yet that's out there, but I'm involved with the program.
Okay, a little senior in education. How many of those parents have come to you at some point and talked about any difference in their kids from the time that they were with you?
I mean, recently I was mentoring at Lockhart Elementary School. I was mentoring the 4th and 5th graders, and we did a ceremony. The parents, they actually want us to stay connected with those kids. It was like the kids, they, you know, just what we did. So we did an 8-week course, and these kids, we worked with them every month. We had a character trait like integrity, but we basically put that in front of them, and the parents, they was excited. You know, what we got to do is, and I feel like for me, I'm speaking personally, is not just because it's hard for me to just get to see a kid, get to know them, and just leave them alone. You know, because now my mind is wondering, like, I wonder how he's doing. I was just telling one of my brothers, is we got to find a way to grow with these kids till they go off to college. You know, it just bothered me when I see a kid, you know, from 3rd grade, and I go back and I didn't connect with them from 3rd grade to 5th grade, and now they just running loose. But so just staying more connected with them, finding these programs where they growing from this program to another program. Now you 15, now this program leads you, we can get you these jobs, you know, so.
I still have my question, Eli.
I do this a lot.
How many of the parents have come to you and thank you for their children's changes? And how many kids have come to you?
A lot of times you don't even see their parents.
Okay, forget about them. Yeah. How many have? 1, 50?
1,000, hundreds and thousands, honestly.
That's your impact, dude.
Yes, sir.
So when someone asks you that,
yes, sir,
for all of you, impact, because otherwise it's spinning wheels. You can today, and the Black Israelites are out, they got their purple outfits on, they look really sharp. And they're out talking, people are passing by. Well, who knows their impact? There might be 10 people per minute that hear what they're saying and say, you know what, I'm gonna go research that. There might be 2 people per minute that stop and say, give me a pamphlet, I wanna check it out. There might be 1 person per hour that pays them any attention. But they usually want to know their impact. Well, when they get people to come back to them, they might get that idea. Mercedes-Benz, when they help sponsor concerts, they put their cars out there, everybody gets to check them out. Well, they want to see how many people come back to the dealership and say, hey, I want to drive the car now, I want to look at buying. Well, then they can keep sponsoring because that's a part of their marketing. But they need the impact. If they don't have any impact, they're going to say no. If you guys are doing things and you don't have any impact that's measurable, then what are you doing? And I'm pretty sure that all of you have. A lot of times you're not gonna see it because those people that hear you, they're not always gonna come back and say, hey, you said something that really enlightened me. But in a lot of cases you are. And when you're doing this, everybody that comes to listen to you or anything else, they want some impact because they wanna know, is it worth me helping to back? If they, maybe I'm gonna volunteer, maybe I'm gonna donate, maybe I'm gonna send my child over there. So just worth to watch. Anybody else on that? I'm gonna turn it over to the audience. Last year.
The audience. I think there was two things I want to say, but I guess the first one, well, yeah, definitely two things I want to say. So I definitely appreciate everyone that came out, especially with the rain and cold, and we had to move location and all that, showing up. Always, try not to make it like a one pit stop. I had a sheet that would let everyone know everything they can do to get involved, but I don't have it right now. So the main thing I want to know is, we do like mentorship training, emotional skill training with the Credible Messenger meetings that we have every month. And I spoke to a few local officials, Mike Scott, since he's going to be our commissioner soon, Bakari Burns, Regina Hill, just to get their, pledge of approval, to support this initiative, and to help people know that we're doing this work and we're going to have meetings every single month where people can come in, get updates, find out how they can support this work, and, also even get involved with the training. And if we have youth there, you can, show them, you're part of the community that supports them. So outside of today, please keep coming back. Our next meeting is going to be on December 18th. It's going to be here at this church, likely from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. If you don't have the website or Instagram, etc., there's like some papers in the back there. You can go and get it. I just want to give people opportunities to keep coming out, keep showing up, keep finding more ways to get involved. Off of that, I definitely wanted to introduce like the Credible Messengers because they have a platform for training mentors and for conflict and conflict resolution training and on and so forth. And we have the leader of the Credible Messengers here at the end. So I wanted Coach Rubens to talk about Credible Messengers and what it does.
I don't need my love, thank you. Credible Messenger of Florida. It's basically what everybody up here spoke. It's lived experience. I do want to make it clear that you don't have to be incarcerated to have lived experience with these streets or violence. Credible Messengers, that's part of our narrative. We're starting to change because when we started this in New York State, in the prison system, it was 17 men incarcerated, and with the Credible Messengers. And I will say here in Orlando, Florida, the vast majority are women and do not have, in fact, I don't think a single one of our women have a record, if I'm not mistaken, not one. But I also want, on the other spectrum, just because you did time don't mean you got credibility with us or our kids. You couldn't do that. You did that crime, you couldn't do the time. We don't mess with you like that. We don't do it. We don't teach our kids to be snitches. We do teach them to stay away from crime, 100%. But we know if these three kids agree to go rob a bank, first of all, as Credible Messenger, we're telling them why never to do it. And you get caught, do your time. Because your mama, me, that prosecutor, that police can't protect you in that jail cell. And they won't protect you. So we do teach accountability on a whole nother level. We do teach non-traditional methods, and I run into a lot of problems with programs about that. So I'm making it transparent to everybody here. We do deal with mentors and regular people like my mama. My mama tells on you, so what? She ain't held to your damn laws, your gangster laws. So what? My mama told you. Sis over here, the neighbor told, so what? They should have told her you're stupid behind. Should have been out there doing it. They're not held to your laws, right? But we're saying if you pick up that fire suit, you better get in that fire. We teach them accountability on an entirely different level. So that's one thing I want to say about lived experience. Please don't get it twisted that a credible messenger had to have done time, or that anybody done time, they qualify to become a credible messenger. It doesn't work like that with us. The second thing, it is, we are of a variety of age. We have one of our youngest credible messengers in training right now, Jay Lee. She's 16 years old. She's here with the phone in her hand. As well, we do have our OG, like our OG parents here, we call our OG parents, right? Like, raise a hand who heard of Al Green. Let's see, we got some age here. Al Green. Let me try this. The Temptations. B.B. King. James Brown. All right, so we got the Grammy nominated winner, the drummer for those people right here, right now, the Covington back there. They're credible messengers certified with us and the county. They run a music program. It would definitely be unfair. I think 7 come in and kind of pass it to me to introduce them, but they are our oldest certified credible messengers here with the county. Anybody's welcome to come. I'm talking about, the snitching and stuff, but remember, please don't go say, coach supports to turn a blind eye. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm saying when they're in that lifestyle, we teach them, get out of that lifestyle or do the time. This is what we teach them.
It's called accountability.
That's exactly what it's called. Accountability, right? And then in the last note, if anybody wants to ask a question about the credible messenger, I guess we'll go from there. A lot of them stereotypes, like, the records, and oh man, we're hammering that. So I just told everybody how long I was in prison, what age I went in, and what I went in for. But right now, Mayor Deming signs my checks. Right? So there is hope. It's not easy. I promise you. Moms Demand Action have been a great allies with us in pushing this as well from day one. I actually met the Covingtons because his wife, Ms. Gwen, who runs their music program, they say, men are the head of the body, but it's really the women are the neck. They control the head, right? That's Ms. Covington back there. But I met her fighting for what we're talking about. Hitting resources from the county and the city. Like, they always say, well, the public tax. Damn it, we pay taxes too. What the hell you mean? Their tax. This is our tax money. Everybody. They always say, we can't put public tax dollars to the formula. Why? We're paying the same. That's our money. We forget. And don't get twisted in that either, y'all. That's our money as well, right? And so, we had mentioned about they should give us resources to help us out, formerly incarcerated. And me and her were like shoulder to shoulder with that. And we both had a lot of progress. So don't give up is what I'm saying. And we can do this. It's going to take us to do it unified. We have the right politicians in place right now. The communities, and we got the greatest mentors. I associate with a lot of y'all or your people. The thing I want to mention, our motto with credible messages is what does love look like? That's why I like what the youth minister was saying. I love it. It was pricking my heart. I love what he was saying, right? I'm not a Bible thumper. Any of us been incarcerated, we hear that every other day. I'm telling you, that's not impressive to us. Ask brothers, they'll tell you. We hear that, the Bible stuff every other day. But it's the truth on the love aspect. I'm not going to Bible thump. Our question is, what does love look like? Right? That's the credible messenger model. And my answer to that is it looks like time. Whether it's a basketball, whether it's a rap, positive rap, whether it's boxing, mixed martial arts, whatever it is. If you know a youth or hundreds or 50 of them that are on that route to where we've been, the majority of us, and you're not spending time with them, you have to question if you're really part of that healing village. Because it's not, we can't, it sounds pretty, it takes a tribe. It takes a don't say it. Oh no, you know any kids about what? Yeah, I know about 20, 30. Do you spend 7, 8 hours a day with them? Well, I ain't really got time. You're not part of the village. You're not helping raise it. You know it, but you're not raising it. We talk about raising the village. when people tell me about Florida, first thing I want to ask is, we dedicated. I don't have to live over there. Is anybody there in my house? And anybody can come. It's dedicated. I got bunk beds in there like a prison. It's dedicated to hurt youth and hurt animals. I got a ring in my back. I got a MMA. Right? It's dedicated to these kids come pursuing crime statistically. #1 for Latina pregnancies. And we got a little Haiti over there as well, right? And with all that, what a lot of people don't know, we don't have not one community center in Oak Ridge, OPTL. People don't even know that. So I decided to move into that area with my wife at that time and open our house to the community. So before you come to me talking about, we gotta get on the same level playing field here about this, what we do for these kids. You know, so when we say village, I think we should start correcting ourselves and say, it doesn't take a village, it takes the right village. Because if you're not putting time into that, you're not part of the problem, but you're damn sure not part of the solution. Right? And with that, I'm sorry, I ran my mouth way too much.
All right, I was gonna say one. The U.S. State Attorney's Office, they're interested in bringing different trainings to our mentorship monthly meetings, and we have a restorative justice practitioner. He's not here today, but Stephen Manuel. He's been working in criminal justice reform for a long time, and this social emotional skill training stuff. So there's going to be lots of different trainings and lots of different opportunities for people to get involved. Just check the website, the Instagram, and yeah, keep showing up. So thank you guys.
Okay. I have 1 or 2 questions left, but I'm going to look to the audience now to get my next questions. So who's going to be first? Okay, if you stand up, I'll come to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hello. I really appreciate this event. Thank you, Seven, and everyone who's on the board and who's helping to facilitate and attended. I had a question, obviously that's why. But something that's really resonated with me throughout this time is the fact that what we're experiencing is in part spiritual warfare. And I am assuming that all of you here have gone through their city, and there was one point where you were finally able to hear your own voice and separate that from the mess of the masses. One thing that I would really love to hear you all speak on is how you were able to hone in on your intuition and how you think it's possible for us to start to teach our children and the youth to trust themselves so that they don't get swept under peer pressure and start to see the value of their own intuition.
I think with that is just coming, when people don't talk about it's just the identity, right? Once you realize that, what is it that you want to do, who you are. Just to answer your question quick, I just think it's about mentorship. It's going to take a lot of dedicated mentors, and people who are seriously helping you figure that out. Because you ask me, and I look at mistakes that I made, I look at peer pressure as an excuse, right? But if you're not saying that and really showing them that it's peer pressure as an excuse, then it is hard. So I think mentorship is the way to really kind of address that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say attention as well, because a lot of kids don't get the amount of attention that they are starving for. It's much more, I guess, rewarding socially for a lot of kids to act out because that's where they'll get their attention. And thinking about myself when I was in 6th, 7th grade, good grades would have been nice, but I wasn't getting anything for that A. My dad probably would barely look at me and say, that's cool. But I get out of class, I do something that the whole school's gonna talk about, then, I have all these people talking about me, I got some more friends than I would if, I got an A and someone called me a nerd. So it's about, better, you do better. I guess education, if, there is a deep amount of education you have to do with kids to have them understand peer pressure and the fact that, the fact that they don't have to act the way everyone else is acting. Just to feel accepted, and that then being accepted in that manner, emotional training and interaction that you have to have with your kids. I think so. Hopefully.
Intuition?
Yeah.
How do you teach intuition?
Or
To have them trust themselves.
yeah, or how did you come into your own intuition? And how did you teach those skills then?
Okay, so with me, growing up, like I told you guys, I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. I couldn't question my parents like that. You get what I'm saying? So in that, I even had an identity crisis. You get what I'm saying? 'Cause I'm like, just do it just because you're not going to hell. I didn't understand it. And those answers didn't come to me until I can say I went to prison. That's why I got that experience. Now I'm dealing with Hebrew Israelites. I never met that before I went to Islam. And all of them have different messages. And all of them have influential characters. So you like, damn, what do I choose? Of course, you're gonna go with who's more influential. But where I learned that at is asking those questions that pop up in your mind. You get what I'm saying? And it led me to reading self-help books with meditation. And I think if you put somebody in an environment where they can have an opportunity to choose for themselves, that builds that character that you probably talking about as intuition. But because like the pastor that came up here, respect his message, respect it, but what if I don't resonate with that? What if I resonate with meditation? That's how I recharge. So sometimes even how we deliver our message, of course I wouldn't say anything, but what if it was against how I see things? You get what I'm saying? So I kind of, when I talk about my intuition, I kind of take everybody in consideration because I don't even look at, like I was raised Christian, but I don't identify as Christian, if that makes sense. But I don't have anything against the teachings. So that's kind of how I learned intuition.
I would say it's the realization that no man is an island, that all actions, they reach out, they continue to affect other people. And I would say personally that realization came at sentencing, listening to that victim and watching my mother cry. That started me to realizing that my actions affected other people. And I think as a team, you don't really realize that. You think the things that you do are in a vacuum. So also what compounded on that, like I said before, is that I was a prison lawyer. So every time I read somebody's case, I was able to see that over and over and over again. And that realization gave me an insight. That insight I was able to give to other people when I speak to them.
I think it's hard for me to decide like what one particular moment enlightened me, because I think throughout different phases of our lives, we come through different stages of enlightenment. For example, you said something that was huge to me. I've already served my time, went to a court date to terminate probation, and actually got to hear my surviving family members and their pain for the first time. There was an enlightenment and an accountability there that wasn't there before, but even more so an understanding of how broken the system was when I seen like the state attorney come out and use them in their pain for their agenda to make sure I didn't get off probation, but then as soon as they were done, discard them, send them back home. And I said, oh, so now my advocacy just took a different turn. Now I want to work in restorative justice because I want them to be healed, the same healing I found inside of that cell. And so I think as we go through different phases, I had a daughter, and all of a sudden me doing my makeup every day wasn't important because I knew that she needed to see that a natural face and a natural body was okay, because I knew social media was going to show her that fake perfection. I didn't want that pressure on her. So then there was an enlightenment there because I could understand as a mother what I couldn't understand when I didn't have kids, or what it means for my son to say, mommy, my feelings are hurt. And to know how important that is as a Black male to be able to say that instead of telling him not to cry. And so I think we go through different phases of enlightenment. And so that's what I think the message to give the youth is: be authentic to yourself. How you feel at the moment, express that. If it hurts, say it hurts. If you don't understand, say you don't understand. If you're overwhelmed, say you're overwhelmed, because as you embrace your transparency and your truth, then you can go to the next level of enlightenment.
Okay, could I ask a follow-up to her question? How many of you had your intuition about things you were doing before you ended up in jail? And those intuitions would have led you in a different direction. Anybody?
I guess I'll talk about the mic. Dang. I think my moment was kind of, I had a teacher that I guess he kind of related to us in a way that I guess most other teachers didn't. He was kind of the teacher to curse at you, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, he's not supposed to be cursing." And we slap boxing class, talk about boxing, and yeah, I think that I was pretty easy.
So from the way I understand it, you were asking about helping them to identify their own intuition so they can make better decisions without you always having to intervene. Is that it?
And I guess what you're just asking is like, were there any moments where you listened, like you ignored your intuition?
Yes, and maybe I should clarify, because it sounds like everybody had that particular thought in mind when they did it. There was no other thought in your head that, well, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So you were thinking that direction all the time? There was no other alternative thought before you did it?
So for me, I think it's a little backwards, right? And the reason I say that, so I have both parents active in my life. I had uncles that was in the streets, told me not to do a lot of stuff, right? My mom was a correction officer, right? You know what I'm saying? So, like, then not only that, right, pertaining to my story, I ignored my intuition, right, and went against the grain, right? And what I mean by that, right, one, I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing the stuff I was doing, right? Two, like, we come from the projects, but we was one of the family out of the projects that our family, like, we was fortunate. We had all the newest Jordans so I didn't have no need for that. I had wants, but I didn't know the difference between the two, right? And then not only that, God gave me 2 signs, right, in particular. And then again, it brings me back to humble myself, because I'm glad that I did buck the system and went against the grain, because I wouldn't be here, right? And the reason why I say that, and I tell you, so the first time my mom told me that the particular day to come in at a certain time, I bucked the system, right? If I'd have went in at a certain time, I probably wouldn't have went through my situation. The second thing, one day I was sitting outside, and we stayed in a dead-end neighborhood, right? And I was sitting outside, seeing a lady pass by. I'm like, man, she look good. All right, so I'm gonna sit again because she went to the back. She got to come at fast, right? So I just lay down, and I was on the ground. I was like looking up at the sky, whatever, just relaxing, enjoying the sun. And you could hear, as you know how you can hear the sound of a car approaching. So I see this car approaching, and then I'm like, dang, that's that lady. So she telling me to come here. So I get all happy or whatever. But as I get closer to the car, she was crying. She was like, I don't know you and you don't know me, but God told me to tell me you about to go through some things, and He gonna be with you
And I didn't know what she was talking about, right? It's a week before I caught my charge, right? And then, you know, then the part that I'm glad that I didn't listen to my intuition because I wouldn't be here. So I had done so much, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm the youngest person. I'm hanging around there, but I got a little respect, but I want to take it a little higher, right? I want people to really respect me. So I'm like, for me to do that, I need to catch a body. And you know, we used to go out on the weekends when we used to do things, and I was like, the first person that I see this weekend that I come across, you know, I'm gonna kill him. But for some reason, I got and went out and committed a robbery charge Thursday that I really didn't want to do. I didn't want to do it, but because my homeboy was like, let's do it, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna roll on. But I was really trying to make it Friday. But I look at it and listen to your question. I'm glad that I didn't listen to my intuition because I would have, if I said, no, but I ain't going, I would have took an innocent person's life and I probably would have never been here. Like, I'd been in jail for the rest of my life. So, you know, is that question kind of hit me a little hard in certain situations.
Boy, that's a paradox there. Okay. Go ahead.
I really tried to.
Oh, my bad.
Hello? Yeah. Okay. I really tried to duck that question. Did I have a conscience? Absolutely, I had a conscience. Were there visions? Were there messengers? Were there warnings? Absolutely. Did I have a conscience that I think twice? Absolutely. But each and every time, it's something we hadn't talked about today. Each and every time what I did drugs. I know my senses. It made me apathetic. It quieted those voices. So that is something that we need to be concerned about. That should be something that's part of this conversation. You know, I know that it's the popular belief that marijuana should be legalized. I understand that. But marijuana makes you chill. It makes you apathetic. It makes you not care. It makes you cool with everything. So when those voices do come, it's just that easy to know. Just speak my mind.
So now if we can bring that question back home to her. What she really needs to know is if you're speaking to someone junior to you in your family, and you're speaking about your particular circumstances, and you want to talk about your intuition at the time and what you did differently, then what would you tell them about addressing their intuition?
I mean, without the mic, I mean, just being transparent, like, and I don't know, so I'm going through a situation like my oldest son get kicked out of school, like, he's like, dang, your dad do all this, you know what I'm saying, you doing all this and certain things. But I'm a person, I'm hard, I'm very hard on consequences, I'm big on accountability. So when I speak to the youth, you know, I share my story, but I tell them, like, just like my mom and my grandma told me, you made that big, you have to lay in it. It's just certain times you can't, it ain't worth going back and forth and keep trying to relate, because some stuff will go right to their ear. I'm gonna be straight up, and I tell them, you can look at my story, people around you, and look at the mistakes I made, but if you don't get together, you're gonna be dead or you're gonna be in jail, and that's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you're gonna have to deal with that situation the same way I deal with my kids. You make that decision, you're gonna hit that wall. And it may hurt me, but I feel better knowing that I tried, I gave you some advice, and you made that decision on your own. So sometimes I don't think it's a method to, you know what I'm saying? Some people get the message and some people don't. And just plain out simple, I tell them straight up, and you can make that decision. Well, I ain't gonna tell you all these stories and make your imagination go with something that may excite people. You may want to go to prison so I could be kingpin. You know, I ain't gonna go down that route. I'm just gonna tell you it's gonna end in life and death. Someone get it, someone don't, but I just be very transparent with them. You know, and again, if I do decide to give them a little piece of advice, you know, I tell a lot of the youth, you know, one of the things they say, I've been in a room full of them, I was like, you know, if your homeboy right or wrong, you gonna ride for him. All gonna raise their hand. I said, this is where y'all messed up at. You says, y'all gotta be, you're saying the difference is, one of my homeboys wrong, I ain't riding for you. I ain't gonna go out there and go get into some beef because you did wrong. I gotta be able to address you. And if I can't correct you, then we ain't friends. Right? You know what I'm saying? So I give them that message just by being straight up for them, like you can hit that wall. And then another example I give them is like, okay, we beefing, we going back and forth beefing against all these different hoods. And when you go to prison, guess what? Now it's Orange County versus Miami-Dade and Duval. So now you basically killing and shooting and beefing with somebody else that lives in your same county just to go to prison to be friends, because that's just gonna happen. Everybody that I was beefing with when I got to prison,
I don't know my brothers right now. We brothers, we cool. It's like, man, I did all this just to get in, you know what I'm saying, to tell you I love you. So I just be transparent with it. Like, you gonna hit that wall and you may not like it and you may not come back for it. You don't have a second chance all the time. They gotta know that, dude. I did as a youth, I thought because I was 15, I was gonna give 21 days. That was the myth. You're a juvenile, you get 21 days. Rethink that time is at our essence. You have to tell them straight up, you may not get a second chance, and they think that they got a second chance because of their age. So I just be transparent with like a second chance and always granted to you.
Anybody else on that? Before we, did that help?
I guess I just want to say, well, afterwards, I know we went over time. I apologize. I know brother in the brown jacket got a question. I guess it'll be one of the last questions that I just wanted to.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. You guys have beautiful responses. Very beautiful responses. I appreciate your transparency too.
I have less of a question, more of like another side to the coin in terms of how to help her. So I'm a little nervous. I don't like talking. But like, oh, okay. So right now I work as an RBT, and I'm pursuing my master's and board certified. But the largest thing is reinforcers. So you're supposed to like maximize positive and good behavior and show them like there is reward to behavior. Aside from just telling them, you should model it and you should reinforce it. And trusting someone's intuition. I lost my train of thought. Oh, so in trusting someone's intuition, you have to press the individuality behind it. There's all science that like encourages that, and you want them to do something, you should always put incentive behind what you want them to do, but also give heard, but they feel as though the decision you wanted was their own choice. So it reinforces the fact that they will always like be able to do for themselves without other people telling them what to do. And there's blessings behind what they're doing. And you deal with a vulnerable population like autistic kids. And although we get the consent of the parent, we try to work within a set in which the children, although verbal and nonverbal, may agree with our methods. So that way they always feel, so when they transition in life, they can essentially not be dependent on somebody. They can do for themselves and always make a decision that's actually positive. So another thing I would suggest is reading. Parents, studies that enforce like how to change and modify behavior. So aside from just telling your story, which is also beneficial, we should look at what actually works. And because there's people that's never been in the hood that understand the hood just as much as you, because they research it. They understand how personality and how we can use that to destroy or make a person. So we should be encouraging our leaders and our pastors to read these scientific journals, our mothers, our fathers, all that. So they actually know that aside from just telling our children. So.
You know 7?
I know, I don't know 7, but I knew Eli.
Okay. Lens?
Lens like glasses.
Lens. Get with him and give me your phone number. I want to add one thing for you, because I think your question was so appropriate for what they're doing. Basically because everybody that has someone young has to be concerned about their intuition. And being that intuition, to me, is a product of your guidance that you receive and your training and what you learn in life. And you take that to make those instant decisions without all the conscious thought. So people that sit down and go through all the possibilities, that's not intuition, because intuition is right now. So you take somebody that's ADD, and their intuition really needs help because they're making snap decisions a lot of times that are wrong. But the more they have training for the right things, the more they have in their bank to have good intuition, because then it's gonna hit them. I shouldn't do that because my mom already told me that, well, this could lead to this, you could get hurt, this is how, so on. All this gonna go through the head. The ones that don't have that, then they're really in trouble. So I would think that along with what he was saying about the education of the parents that they get themselves, maybe if you take that information and you're passing that on to them, and then you give them tests sometimes to say, look, we're gonna take this chart, and you're gonna make these decisions on snap things that I give you. And then we're gonna see how they would pan out, and then you get to see what the results would be. So you can start working yourself on how you make your snap decisions. Because you already see on this chart, you only got 2 out of 10 right. The rest of them, you would have either died or you would have lost money or whatever the case. And you can do that. And then I think with practice, they'll probably get better. And then you say, okay, now go, you're on your own.
Okay, 7. Turning it back over to you. You want me to end it?
Yeah, you said you're out of class.
Oh, okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate everybody.
Thanks for sharing. Nice meeting So we'll just film just for like ambiance, you know, so we can see like the people that came out, and we'll close it out, you know, once we're down. Maybe even some close-ups if you like walk around and like kind of like hit the crowd. But we're gonna keep going just as like just to see what's going on. So I'm gonna put one more time back here. And then it'll go back.
Yeah, so.
Go that way? If we part.
Work on the backside. We came
Naomi, come on, Naomi, yes.
This is nice.
Y'all don't move, because once they do it, I wanna get one, but I wanna move it to center.
That's great. That's really good.
Don't wait too long with that Joe shirt on now.
Barely making it to close out.